we go.
You're in the Recruiting Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're the 2 o'clock.
Yes, I am.
Here are your hosts, Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Brought to you by Bubbles and Blocks.
Welcome into the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer here on Monday. Football officially starts this week.
All right.
How about that?
Here we are.
And here I thought it was going to start when Aaron Rodgers finally lets us know what he was going to do. I think we were all just waiting. Football wasn't really going to start until Aaron Rodgers decided so. And I think we might be close. Might be close.
There's still some confusion there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of like obnoxious storylines, that's up there. Naturally, as a Vikings fan, I'm more annoyed than anyone else, but we'll leave that.
I will admit that it will seem like an enormous waste of time if he ends up playing for the Packers again.
Well, also sort of drag your own organization through a lot of unnecessary headache for no reason, but I'm excited for the Aaron Rodgers, the media just blew it out of proportion interview that we're going to get. That's going to be by the end of this week.
Sure.
So.
When he did nothing but fuel the fire all off season.
Right. Yeah. And, may or may not have been the source for a lot of it.
Sure.
But, hey, whatever. That's my 27-second thought on that. We'll move on to things that actually matter, but we'll start with a phone call from Mike.
Let's go. Mike is back.
If I am correct here, I think Mike has been waiting since early July to make this phone call because you and I haven't been sitting in this room since then.
It's been a while.
So, Mike, we are back. We are excited to welcome you back to the show. It is Monday at 2:03. What do you got for us?
Well, hey, first I want to say congratulations on your nuptials. My wife and I didn't show up because the invitation must have got lost in the mail, so we just kept the rather expensive present we had bought, but that's okay. All right.
Hopefully you get some value out of that present.
Yeah, a lot. Thanks. I got some thoughts on conference realignment as it pertains to the Big Ten, and I want you guys to tell me if I'm on the verge of being a Mensa member or if I'm the village idiot. So I don't think the Big Ten can act just for the sake of acting, but I do think they need to be proactive. Paul Feinbaum talked today and said the SEC is now college football, which I think is a little bit of an overstatement, but there's a lot of talk about Iowa State and Kansas, and I don't get that. I don't think they do much as far as being a splash action. It's more football driven, and Kansas football makes more money than Kansas basketball and has for years. So I don't know if it would add much to the Big Ten Conference. Plus, being the vindictive person I am, I remember how all the Big Eight members kind of grabbed their ankles for Texas when the conference was formed. So I think it's kind of karma. I would love to see, and I know it's a ways out there, a North Carolina and a Virginia or Virginia Tech, but I think their media rights deal doesn't expire till 2034. So to me, the two teams they should go after are Missouri and Texas A&M. I know Missouri's a former Big Eight member, but they actively campaigned to get in the Big Ten in 2010. And I went to the first Big 12 championship game in St. Louis, stopped in Missouri to watch a basketball game on the way back. And I bought a program, and throughout their program, it was really bizarre. If they're talking about their university, if we were in the Big Ten, our journalism school would be second in the Big Ten. It'd be fifth in business. And throughout the program, they talked about being in the Big Ten, or, how they would compare to the Big Ten. And so I kind of researched it a little bit, and they have always felt they were a better fit academically for the Big Ten. Always wanted to be in the Big Ten. So I think you got a shot there. And with A&M, if reports are to be believed, I think that, they're pretty furious how this all went down. And would you get them? Probably not. But I think that's a couple of teams that they should go after that would really help the conference. What do you guys say?
I Thank you, Mike. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, that was good stuff, Mike. And it kind of cuts right into a bunch of, I'm sure, what we'll discuss today, what Happer will be discussing on the drive later, what everyone in the sports world is discussing. Oklahoma and Texas sort of gave everyone a bit of a gift right now because it's slow, and yet this is the sort of fun topic that people love to dive into. I definitely understand where you come from with the Kansas and Iowa State thing. I mean, I'm right there with you in terms of it doesn't excite me in terms of adding 2 new teams to the conference. But
Kansas doesn't do anything for you?
No. I mean, from the basketball perspective, it could be fun. They also should get the death penalty. So we'll see how that, that's a joke. They're not going to. But I am kind of curious what the fallout of that could be.
Me too.
Potentially. Or will be, and we'll see how that goes. But their football team is their football team. We know what Kansas football is. And then with Iowa State, I don't know if 3 years ago Nebraska fans would be clamoring for Iowa State to join the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're on a great run right now. And Matt Campbell is an outstanding coach. It's just it sort of feels really recency based for a program that largely Nebraska fans have looked down on for most of my lifetime. So I find that one curious. And if these are football related decisions, neither of these programs bring you much in terms of history, and they don't bring you much in terms of eyeballs either. So the Kansas City media market is maybe the most interesting aspect of that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all assuming Notre Dame says no, which I'm guessing they will, because of how tied they are to the ACC at the moment in every other sport that isn't football.
I just think in order to have these conversations, we have to define what we're talking about. What are we talking about? Are we referring to we want Missouri in the Big Ten as a Nebraska fan? Yeah, I want old friends to join. Absolutely. I want Missouri in the Big Ten. I want Kansas in the Big Ten. Like, I want to meet up with Oklahoma, and that's, out the window, all that stuff. But but if we're talking about for the league and what they're looking for, it has remained slightly unclear to me what will be dictating this round of realignment. Texas and Oklahoma's move seems only short-sighted for the fact that I don't understand why still. I still don't get it. And if I could maybe have that piece of the puzzle, I'd be able to figure out what might happen next. But I don't know the answer to that still.
I suspect that from Oklahoma's standpoint, they don't think there's enough they can do in the Big 12 to earn the respect necessary to be the number 1 team in the country at the end of the day. And as weird as that sounds, given that they're probably the favorite coming into this year.
That can't be true.
I don't know what else it would be. And maybe they feel like they lose so much financially, but Texas certainly shouldn't be worried about that. And Oklahoma more so than Texas, but still, it wasn't like it was destitute in the Big 12. It wasn't like it was a Big East circa 2007. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but they obviously have fired this opening salvo, and how the Big Ten reacts is certainly going to be on everyone's mind. I mean, all options are on the table, right? Like, you either
obviously all options are definitely on the table, because I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's going on.
And one of those options remains they could just stand pat.
Yeah,
I mean, because
absolutely.
I don't know. We'll put it this way: if the SEC adds Texas and Oklahoma, what in the end does adding Kansas and Iowa State do for the Big Ten?
Well, I mean, it bumps up your basketball profile
a little bit. Yeah,
I think Kansas Kansas feels like a Big Ten basketball school to me. Sure. I think that makes sense.
But you don't necessarily need to do that. Like, your profile doesn't. It's already almost largely viewed as the 1A to the 1B or the 1B to the 1A.
No, I don't want to make it seem like that. They definitely don't have to do anything.
Right.
But that only comes up because there are going to be Big 12 schools out there for the picking, most likely, unless they go back in and start adding Group of 5 schools like Memphis and Cincinnati. Or wasn't there a report about like UL Lafayette over the weekend or something?
I don't know.
everything's out of control right now. So I can't tell if the Big 12 is just going to go away completely, or if and that would make their members kind of split off into wherever, or if they'll try to stay the Big 12 and add that. Would the addition, if the Big 12 replaced Texas and Oklahoma with Cincinnati and Memphis, is that a Power 5 league anymore? Is that an Autonomy 5 league anymore?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
So maybe the most likely thing is that they just, that the Big 12 kind of floats away at this point.
With Kansas trying to get on the agenda with the Big 10, I mean, that kind of tells you how the rest of the league sort of views it.
Well, that's the decision that the individual schools have to make right now. Like, are we going to go for every man for yourself mode, or are we going to try and stick around and do it?
Right.
And I don't think it makes a lot of sense for those member schools to look out for the greater good of the conference at this point. Texas and Oklahoma,
it's Pirates code at this point.
Absolutely. There's no rules anymore.
Literally every school for itself,
no doubt.
And some of those schools, Iowa State, Kansas, have more to offer than Texas Tech or Oklahoma State or Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're Iowa State, you can't concern yourself with what could happen to Kansas State. You have to concern yourself with, we don't want to be in a conference with Kansas State anymore.
That's right.
And it's not because of any ill will towards Kansas State. It's just that the writing is on the wall. I mean, I think, what would be more interesting is, okay, these two moves happen. If the Big Ten does something, it should be larger than just adding 2 more teams, or should have a larger effect than just adding 2 more teams, if that makes sense.
We may be there eventually.
And I joked about this like on Twitter, but the big announcement from the Pac-12 today is they have a new snack that is the Pac-12 snack. I don't know if you saw this or not.
No.
Yeah, they have entered an agreement with and this is the important conference news that everyone is after, but they entered an agreement with a snack company,
Campbell's.
Yep. So that's a big deal. The Big Ten's falling behind, but in all honesty,
Campbell's has snacks.
Well, they own,
it was just a soup.
They own divisions of snacks, basically. I'm trying to read the fine print, and
it's probably not worth your time.
Kettle Brand and Cape Cod potato chips.
Oh, that sounds pretty good, actually.
So,
yeah, we are
Pepperidge Farm cookies.
Okay,
part of this as well.
And they are the official
Hanover pretzels
of the Pac-12.
Yes, the official snack of the pretzels are Campbell's snacks.
Okay,
so, but what I mean though is that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 could look at some sort of creative partnership. And while that's not necessarily
certainly been talked about,
right, I think like that's the next move that probably should happen for the Big Ten. And I don't know what exactly that looks like. I don't know exactly how that works. In my own pea-sized brain, I like the idea of the conference championship game essentially being the Rose Bowl, because that sort of works for me in the way that I think about things. But you have to kind of make that all fit with however the college football playoff would work anyways. And oh, by the way, here's the association that houses all of colleges just vacating their responsibility with NIL, vacating their responsibility as we reach Armageddon with the realignment. Like there's no one overseeing any of this at this point.
No, and there never was going to be, because the Power 5 is not controlled by anybody. They have the autonomy to act however they want.
And I think you're getting to essentially 4. And if you split it off of ACC and SEC combined and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten combined.
So here's my thing. If we go, because I agree with you, and it does seem like we're headed toward 4 super conferences. And what those conferences,
or 2 super conferences comprised of, or 2 super leagues comprised of 4 conferences.
And well, yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe.
Where the champions face each other.
Like a, let's say, NFL.
Yeah,
type of
but that's the model that makes the most sense to me at this point.
If we do that, like, what are we even doing? What is
what are we ever doing?
What are we doing? And maybe that's the question that we should be asking right now. What are we doing right now?
We're creating on the fly.
What are Texas and Oklahoma doing? What are the Big 12, the Big 10 and the Pac-12 are going to merge?
Possibly.
What?
Yeah.
Like what? And not that isn't feasible or doable in today's day and age, where they're seemingly the travel doesn't really matter a whole lot anymore. And I don't know. The thing that I've consistently heard over the last couple of days is that we're thinking about these things in terms of TV deals, but that doesn't matter quite as much anymore. Like, for me, long term, if we make that move, the end game to that, this just feels like a stopgap. The end game to that is there are no conferences. And it's just each team,
64 teams in one league.
Yes.
And then I agree.
I think that's kind of what it's directed toward right now, which is
it's
stupid.
Just
by
figuring
the way.
out the framework of how you get to there from where you are right now.
Yeah, because teams are going to decide, conferences are going to decide. Actually, we want more. Actually, we want this, and this is basically what's happened.
Yeah. Going back to Mike's original kind of comments on Missouri and Texas A&M, I expect neither of them to have any interest in leaving the SEC.
No, the Texas A&M,
they're going to be loud about it, but they're not going to leave.
Yeah,
it wouldn't behoove them to.
And on a smaller scale, that's where the Iowa State thing is funny for me because it'd be the same thing for Iowa. You think Iowa wants Iowa State in the Big Ten? Hell no, they don't want Iowa State in the Big Ten.
Funny.
So let's find out
tweets that pop up from Iowa fans just trashing Iowa State right now.
So then you get to find out like what kind of pull Iowa has in the Big Ten. Spoiler alert: it's no pull. Same as Nebraska, but it's none. If the Big Ten decided that they were gung ho on adding Iowa State, they would do it. I don't know why they would do it, but they would do it, and it would not matter what Iowa thinks. Just like the SEC and Texas A&M's feelings, they do not care. They wanted to add Texas, so they're doing it. Or Texas wanted to be added, so they moved. Feelings be damned.
I also sort of find myself, whereas in 2010, because Nebraska was in the center of it, and Nebraska's outlook of what they were in the college football landscape is very different than it is in 2021. I found myself a lot more excited about all these possibilities. And right now, because totally Nebraska agree. Is so bad, I kind of want to just fast forward to whatever happens because it isn't relevant to the people here in Lincoln for a long time until this program starts winning games. Because your Big Ten can look like what it does right now, or it can look like you add USC, Washington, Stanford, and Kansas. I just picked 4 teams. I don't know why. Nice. Whatever.
Good picks.
It has those. And if you're still winning 4 to 6 games, it doesn't matter. And so I find it, as much as this topic can be fun, I find myself in this weird, like, melancholy nature whenever it comes up because Nebraska is so not a part of it mattering.
I agree. But I think
Nebraska is actually the cautionary tale of, like, look what you think you're going to get.
Nailed it.
And then, if you're a Texas fan and you think you're going to go into the SEC and that's the door or the name of the SEC combined with Texas Longhorns is suddenly going to spur you to a run of national titles.
Yeah.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, the only exciting thing for me is potentially watching Texas going like 3-6 in the SEC next year or in 2 years, whenever this happens. That'll be super duper fun. But I think some of it is that, and I also think some of it for me is I don't particularly like what the end game here is.
Yeah,
I don't think that's good for the sport. I like the fact that college football is different. It's unique and it has these regional rivalries and with people that really care about each other, like, or about beating each other that don't matter on a national stage. I know it's, that's the focus here. We're talking about things that matter on a national stage. We're trying to get more and more and more of that. But the stuff that is important, let's use Iowa, Nebraska, for example. That's important. Nobody cares about it nationally, but that's important to us. And maybe even smaller than that. Big 12, Kansas, K-State, stuff like that. Those games matter to those fan bases when they play each other and they compare themselves to their opponents every time. And if they're not playing each other, you just lose direction.
Like Missouri, Kansas.
Yeah, you lose some of the heart of that. Yeah, Missouri, Kansas is a good example. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Nebraska, whoever their Big 12 North rival was back in the day.
The 4 teams,
any of them at whatever point. Yeah. So you lose some of that, and Nebraska has obviously seen the downside to that over the last decade. And it feels more at home now.
Yeah.
But it's a work in progress, and it takes a long time. That's the other thing too. If you do this and then in another 10 years we're not talking about conferences at all, and teams are just scheduling themselves and whatever that looks like, then there's no consistency at all. And it is the NFL.
Yeah, my biggest wonder right now is if the work of the SEC isn't to just try to position itself that then it gets to dictate what the future exactly is. And so that's where if you're the Big Ten and the Pac-12 or whoever else, you have to try to work against that to a degree or work with it.
Has it been made clear of like who initiated this? Is it Oklahoma? Is it Texas? Is it the SEC?
I'm not sure. I'm really not. And what has also kind of been interesting to me is just going back through, and there was a great article from Sam Kahn on The Athletic, and the headline drew me because it referred to Texas and Oklahoma as the original Big 12 cornerstones. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, hold on.
Wait, no. And I go into this article thinking like, what sort of revisionist thing is this? Yeah. But then you read about the formation of the Big 12, and you know what didn't matter to a lot of people then? Nebraska. Like they were, despite being the best team in the country and going through an unbelievable run as a program, they were less interesting to everyone compared to Kansas trying to get into the Big Ten in the 1990s, Missouri trying to get into the Big Ten in the 1990s, Colorado's Board of Regents voting 6-3 to stay in the Big 8 and then the Big 12 over the Pac-12 in 1994 or 95. I didn't know any of this stuff, but nowhere to be found in there is Nebraska because no one was that interested.
That's weird. Why?
I don't get it.
Why is that like that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was they didn't have the academic prestige for the Big Ten. My guess is that.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing to keep in mind.
I don't even know if they had the academic prestige for the Pac-12 at that time either, which, you don't think of the Pac-12 in the same way as the Big Ten, but they have a lot of institutions that are very renowned for their academics.
And that's my point from the beginning of this conversation to kind of go full circle here. These decisions, anytime there has been conference realignment, there has been something that has made that thing go. Last time it was TV contracts, right? Yep. Nebraska.
It's almost been TV contracts every time.
TV contracts and Nebraska specifically, feeling the need for Texas, safety because of Texas's threats and stuff like that. So, okay, that's clear to me. And then based on those factors, you can make the best decision that you can in the moment, and that's it. And Nebraska felt like theirs was to go to the Big Ten. Okay, so then we can judge it, right? I still don't know what this is. I still don't know why. I still don't know what would make that, why Texas and Oklahoma would feel like they would need to go. And until that becomes clear, I can't really forecast what will happen next because it all seems like it's just arbitrary. It all seems like it's happening for no reason at all. Where did this come from? Like, right? It was the Houston Chronicle thing 5 days ago. And a week before that, it was like, oh yeah, we're all stable. Everything's good. And apparently this has been in the works for 6 months.
I don't know. Do you think it's the disease of more? Like this necessity that Texas hiring different or needing to hire different coaches, struggling to maintain relevancy over the last 11 years, turns to Oklahoma, who hasn't had that struggle, and is basically like, we don't need these guys. Let's go do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's how it went.
That would be a Texas move.
But that would make the most sense to me. And it also speaks to like the realization that if Texas wanted to go by themselves to the SEC,
right. So you're telling me,
think that this is a slam dunk.
Right. So you're telling me Texas precipitated this move and Oklahoma is just like, yeah, we'll go with you.
Just a theory.
I mean, that would be ridiculous for Oklahoma, right?
Unless they just felt like if Texas is leaving, then we might as well leave too.
Let's just go.
Yeah.
It's
like the reverse of mom and dad dropping the kids off. It's like mom and dad are like, yeah, well, if we pack our suitcases quietly and leave at midnight. Right? Like that's
exactly like that.
That's what it is.
So I don't know, man. I still don't that would make sense for Texas, what you just characterized.
But I think you hit on something that I have struggled to at least voice, because while I enjoy these conversations in the abstract,
yes, I love talking about it. It's fun.
The reality of where college football sort of lands has me concerned for a number of like programs that will just, I mentioned that Iowa State shouldn't care about Kansas State. I care about Kansas State in the sense of I wouldn't want them to just be an also-ran as college. Like, I don't know.
There are going to be programs who don't matter, who won't matter even more.
Right.
Or
you're just going to end up with this sub-level underneath this other level, and then there's not going to be that much money for those either. So then they just fold into the FCS, and all of a sudden North Dakota State's playing Kansas State as part of the Missouri Valley.
Right.
I mean, that's a realistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as fun as that might sound, it actually sounds kind of terrible.
Yeah. And there are teams that are in conference, the Big 12 is a good example of this. The teams that are left in the Big 12 that just get kind of left out in the water. Like you said, they end up in FCS conferences,
right.
And they turn into, where those rivalries, make sense and are passionate regionally. Let's use like Indiana and Purdue, right? Who cares about Indiana and Purdue? Purdue really care about Indiana Purdue. The
Twitter account Greg and Lincoln really cares about Indiana. And
That's right. And the Big Ten does somewhat of an effort to spotlight that every year, and that's a Big Ten game, so it feels bigger than it actually is. That's that moment, and not that I care all that much about the little guy of college football, but I just think it makes sense for the whole ecosystem, right? There are big teams, there are blue bloods, there are teams that are trying and that are going to give it, those teams the shot. And then there are teams that just aren't going to try and are known for something else, academics or whatever. And I feel like that works in harmony. And in the next run of college football that we're about to have, it doesn't feel like that's going to be true anymore. So I guess I just have to readjust my brain because that's what's going to happen.
I wonder how much of this is just precipitated. Obviously, again, TV contracts have a large part to do with it. But I wonder how much of it is precipitated by this sort of ridiculous notion that we always have to figure out who the best team is. That if you assemble the greatest conference ever, you will surely know by the end of it which of those teams is actually, quote unquote, the most deserving champion.
Totally.
And it's this stupid idea that does not exist in any other sport anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
As evidenced by the Milwaukee Bucks are now the NBA champions, and no one thinks that the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA.
Right.
No one.
Right.
And they beat a team in the Phoenix Suns that people thought even less was the best team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Your NFL champions, the Tampa Bay Bucks, were a 5 seed that played on the road every single way to get there. And most people expected them to lose once they beat Washington. It's just like we have this weird notion with college football, unlike any other sport, where we have to find the most deserving thing. And it feels like that attitude, which extends from the end of the Bull era, getting into the BCS, that being not perfect, has just permeates all of these conversations. You have Paul Feinbaum, who says anything all the time about how this is college football.
But honestly, that seems backwards because I feel like, and I don't mind the idea of attempting to find the best team, but I think the format to get there is the one that we currently have. We have all these different teams regionally that pop out, and then they get to play each other in the playoff. And an 8-team playoff or a 12-team playoff would even highlight that more so. But if we put them all in one conference, then somebody's 3-9 at the end of the day. And it might be a good team.
Some of it loses the spectacle nature of it. I mean, one of the weird things that we love in college football is the tribalism of your region that you're in.
Absolutely.
Nebraska fans love to be a northern school for baseball, and the idea of going down and knocking off Arkansas was even more delicious than it would have been if you went into South Bend and you knocked off Notre Dame.
Yep.
Northern school beating northern school, okay, whatever. Northern school knocking off number 1 Arkansas.
That means something.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
We love that tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
When you put them all in the same conference, it doesn't really have that same effect.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're right. I mean, I have struggled thinking about it as to even how to voice it, but I'm with you. Like it dilutes what previously has made college athletics special. And that's, if you lose that, you can't just get it back.
No.
So,
and for what?
And not just a fear.
That's the question.
Yes.
For what?
Right. For the idea of crowning the greatest champion of all time.
Because we felt like
for Paul Feinbaum ratings.
Because Texas got bored. I don't know.
Hashtag because Texas got bored. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. We are let's get this in first. I know we're overdue, but let's get this in first. Steve Warren's going to be coming on here shortly. He's going to be talking about his Media Days event that he has put together for top recruits in the state of Nebraska. So we're going to get into that. But we do have an opening splash we need to hit real quickly. And today's opening splash is that we are going to be at the Pawnee Plunge live on Friday.
Yes.
It will be me. It will be Happer.
Yes.
I heard Jake might even be there.
Yes.
Jake says he's going to be there. We are going to be at the Pawnee Plunge. We want people to join us. Get to Columbus on Friday. We will be there live. Ernest Hausman's coming down.
Yes.
He will be joining the show. We'll have some other guests. I'm going to force Steve Sipple to come on in some way, some fashion.
Are you going to wear a bro tank?
I don't own a bro tank.
I don't either.
I will wear a Hawaiian shirt.
Yes.
I'll make sure it's buttoned, though, when we're on camera.
I will, too. I'll do that.
All right. So we have a big week this week, and I wanted to get that mentioned. So we're going to be there on Friday. We'll be talking more about that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get to Steve Warren. That's going to be next.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Security First Bank. We're the bank, and we make your mortgage more manageable with flexible terms, trusted advice, and competitive rates. When you work with us, we'll know your name, but we'll also get to know your home dreams too. Security First Bank of Lincoln. Voted best small bank in Nebraska by Newsweek magazine. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 505011.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Patchy fog this morning, then warm and muggy this afternoon. We'll top out at around 92, a south wind at 10 to 20. Tonight, mostly clear, a low dropping down to around 69. A heat advisory in effect tomorrow afternoon. We'll see a high of 97 with feels like temps over 100. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Baseball's back in Lincoln. Salt Dogs Baseball has returned, and we're celebrating their 20th season all summer long. In honor of the 20th season, the Salt Dogs are offering specials at every homestand May to September. Come on out for Nebraska Medical Association Thank You Tuesdays, Fairbury Brand Wiener Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, and Sunday Family Fun Days brought to you by Casey's. Get your tickets for the Salt Dogs celebration season at saltdogs.com.
Need a better job? Looking for a career? Gaina Trucking and Excavating is what you're looking for. They are a rapidly growing company looking for a heavy mechanic. Gaina Trucking and Excavating offers a team culture with lots of benefits, including 401k, health, annual raises, paid vacation, holidays, and much more. It's a great career opportunity. Want to love what you do? Join the Gaina Trucking team. Apply online at www.gainatrucking.com. That's www.gainatrucking.com.
Did you know that Myers Cork and Bottle is still open for walk-in business, but is now also offering citywide delivery? Learn more or place your order by calling 476-1518. And be sure to listen to Thirsty Thursday with Myers Cork and Bottle every Thursday at 4:30 on The Drive.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at the Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the Flow Ride, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th. Mike Schaefer here with 5-star child care provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
Get in, get out, and get your hands on a great career. Did you know Southeast Community College offers short-term training and almost 20 programs of study? That means you can get your certificate at SCC and get right to work without spending years in school. You can train at one of our 3 campus locations in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, or our 6 learning centers across Southeast Nebraska. If you want to find your next step, visit southeast.edu/academics. SCC, your path to possible.
Now that Ken Richards has purchased Brokers Agency, he and his professional staff will continue to provide their clients with the same excellent service under the Brokers Insurance Agency name. Brokers Insurance Agency works with more than 15 companies to help find the best policy for you to avoid any long hassles. Also, if you're looking to get into the insurance business as an independent agent, they have the formula to make that process smooth and successful. Call Ken with Brokers Insurance Agency today at 402-420-5353 or visit brokersinsurancenE.com.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer, presented by Bubbles and Blocks on 93.7 The Ticket and theticket.fm.com.
Welcome back into the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer, and we will go right to the line where we have former Husker and owner of Warren Academy, Steve Warren. Steve, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing well. We are doing well. So you, last year in the pandemic, you put together a showcase in late July that allowed guys to work out, get actual times that they could send to colleges. It was a big move, a needed move for the state because a lot of these kids hadn't really had the opportunity to kind of get the ball rolling on their early recruitment, or for a guy like James Carney, it allowed him to show to places like Kansas State and Iowa and in Nebraska that he was indeed as fast as he was saying from his training sessions. So you had that idea last year, but you called me, I want to say late June, maybe mid-June, and you said, I don't want to do another camp. I want to do something different. Where did you come up with this idea of the media days, and how was it born?
It was simply born out of what you kind of just mentioned before, is wanting to do something that was different. And there were so many camps already, so many showcases. These kids have been all over the country. A lot of our kids that we train they were just kind of just talking to them. We're like, yeah, I'm kind of just done. I want to get to the football season and I want to play. So me just thinking, okay, so what could be of value for these kids? And I want to do something to give back. And I thought this media day idea was unique. I thought it was different. I thought it was something that was a win-win for everybody. So that's really where it was born.
So, Steve, I've talked about it a couple times on air, but if you want to just walk people through what is that day going to look like, and then if you want, feel free to name check some of the participants that are going to be there as part of the top recruits in the state.
Yeah. So the day itself, the players will check in. They'll get individual photos done of themselves. So they'll do a photo shoot. Eric Francis is our photographer. He's a phenomenal photographer. He's worked for the Huskers for years. He's been in ESPN, just a great photographer. So he's going to do their photo shoot. And then Open Doors is coming in to talk to them about the name, image, and likeness agreement, how that works for them, how they can get it to work for them, and then how they can monetize their brand and start building their brand. So when they get to that stage to where they can start getting these endorsements and building their own stores and do all that stuff that these guys are doing now, they'll be ready for it. And then the media portion happens afterwards, where you guys are going to be in interviewing the players and talking to them about what's coming up for this season, what the recruiting has been like. It's the class of 22, 23, and some 24 players. So it's guys that are going to be seniors and juniors, and then there's a few soon-to-be sophomores mixed in. Guys like Daniel Kalen, who just got another big offer last night from Kansas, and Davon Hall are some of the 24 guys. And then you have guys like Rocco Marcelino, who's going to be a Creighton Prep 23 kid who's getting a lot of interest from Power 5 schools, and Connor Gutella, also so 23 kids. And then you have all the big names. And hopefully Devin can make it. I've been messing with him. He's in driving school this week. So he's learning how to drive. So hopefully he can make it, but he said he'll be there if he can, if he gets out of his driver's ed class in time. But Micah Riley, Caden Helms, those big names. And then guys that are still getting a lot of good interest, Mac Owens and those type of guys, Henry Rickles and Rezek, who just signed with Air Force. Caden Kamis, another guy that just signed with Air Force and committed to Air Force. So there's a lot of good players. Dave Singer, Jake Gasway, the Millard South guys. And then we go also, it's not just Class A or or the biggest classes. You know, we have the Corey Hollingers from the smaller classes, and Rex Johnson, who's a guy that's from Iowa, who's from a smaller class. So there's a lot of good players, a lot of names that you should know. And that's the other thing for the fans. This list that we put together, and it's a little over 50 when we release the full list. And for the fans, it's really the guys that you should know and you should be following that are getting Division I interest and that are going to be college football players, and who we feel like and who the media feels like. And some of the scouts that recruit the area, that's how we got the list, was primarily from the writers, guys like yourself and Mike like yourself, and then from some of the scouts and recruiters that we work with. They sent us some of their lists of who they felt like were the best guys in the area, and that's how we put the list together. So this is who you should know if you're a fan and who you should follow on Friday night.
What was the response like from recruits when you kind of initially put this thing together? Obviously, people love being included. They love being invited to stuff, but it's more than just, oh, I get my name out there, I'm going to be interviewed. You're providing real educational things for them too.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for them was the first question that almost 100% of them asked was, is this a camp or what is it? Because they didn't know. You know, it's a media day, which you would think that most people would think, okay, that's kind of self-explanatory, but a lot of people don't know. Some people were thinking, okay, it's going to be a media day, but he's still going to have me, you know, running routes or blocking or pass rushing. And to me, to them was like, no, this is just about you. This is just for you to build your brand, to get that educational piece. Soldier Sports is one of our main sponsors, so they're going to be gifting these players with some swag and some gear and equipment for the season. And McAvick Physical Therapy is another one of our sponsors, so they're going to be giving them educational pieces on how to keep their body healthy and those sort of things. So this is just our way of giving back and making sure that these guys have the tools that they need to go into the season and to look into college and have the education that they need to start with.
Was it fun for you when you kind of were accumulating some of those names and people like myself were sending you over some, when you saw a name that you hadn't seen before? Do you sort of enjoy that because you get to put on your like scouting hat, if you will? You're throwing that film on there and you're trying to figure out, okay, why did this guy get included?
Yeah, it was fun. You know, there was the kid from North Platte, Vincent Genatone, I think I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yep.
I hadn't really heard of him. But then when I started digging into it, and I was like, man, this kid is impressive. Like 10-8, 100-meter dash, 195-pound state champion. His dad played at Washington State, so he's got the pedigree. And like, man, this kid is an impressive kid. So, you know, you watch the film, you're like, okay, I see why he's included on the list. And there was a number of guys like that. I kind of pride myself in knowing a lot of guys, especially from Nebraska and the Southwest Iowa area, because a good number of these guys will come through the facility at some point to train with one of our coaches. But there was quite a few on the list that I hadn't really heard of or never really seen in person. So it was fun in that regard because I kind of got to meet a few kids and get to know them a little bit better.
Where's the furthest away kid coming from? Is it Vincent coming from North Platte?
It might be Vincent coming from North Platte. There's a few kids coming from Iowa. He is probably the farthest. I don't know where Western Christian is. There's a Kyson Van Vutt that's coming from there. And he's a big kid. He's like 6'7". He's like 6'7", like 260 something already as a high school junior, soon to be senior. So he's coming from, I think that's maybe up by Des Moines. But I think North Platte is probably the farthest.
All right, Steve. Well, hey, we appreciate you giving a few minutes of your time. We will be there, as in the recruiting hour, we'll be there on Wednesday, hoping to grab some of those kids, get some interviews, maybe have you back on as well. Looking forward to it. Where's this happening again? This is at the Mark out in Elkhorn, right?
Yeah, it's at the Mark out in Elkhorn. We'll start around 10 o'clock in the morning. It's still open, like when it's not like a private event. So it's open to the public. So we're doing it actually in the bar area in the private room. So they'll have patrons in there having lunch and doing different things. And we have our area kind of marked out to where the kids and the media will be doing their media interviews we're trying to make it a little bit more of a fun thing and a little bit more relaxed for the kids. So the mark is the location.
All right, Steve. Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Steve Warren from Warren Academy. Always thinking, I love this idea. I mean, I told him when he called me about it, and I said that I would be completely on board with, obviously wanting to be there to be part of it, but also love the idea of broadcasting from there. So I'm hoping to be able to bring some of the recruits on Wednesday. I don't know yet who exactly we'll have. I've got kind of a game plan formulated in my mind, but on Wednesday, if you're listening to the Recruiting Hour, we'll have some different recruits on. Sorensen, I think, is going to be there as well. Maybe we'll bring him on as well. He can talk about his.
He's not a recruit.
He's top 50 something.
Something.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to explain the longest there and back drive that I think I have ever had, which occurred for me yesterday. So we will get into that. And Happer seems very confused.
I am.
So we will we'll explain all that, plus a few Nebraska roster notes as well when we return here on the Recruiting Hour.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Right now in Nebraska, over 150 AmeriCorps members are using their talent and passion to make our communities better. AmeriCorps is all about overcoming the challenges our country faces through compassion and teamwork. And the best part, every AmeriCorps adventure is unique. Find out what AmeriCorps can be for you by starting your own adventure today. Learn more about AmeriCorps programming in Nebraska by checking out Serve Nebraska on social media. Sponsored by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Mike Schaefer here with 5-star child care provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
Is our internet down again? That's the question you hear around the office when you experience an outage with outdated communication services. Allo knows businesses need reliable internet to keep everything moving. This is why Tammy Stevenson of the Bridge Behavioral Health switched to Allo.
Expedient and reliable service is critical because we provide care to our clients 24/7. We're just very, very appreciative of Allo service.
To get a free quote, switch today. Visit allofiber.com/workfast or call 402-480-6685.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at the Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the Flow Rider, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th.
Need a better job? Looking for a career? Gaina Trucking and Excavating is what you're looking for. They are a rapidly growing company looking for a heavy mechanic. Gaina Trucking and Excavating offers a team culture with lots of benefits, including 401k, health, annual raises, paid vacation, holidays, and much more. It's a great career opportunity. Want to love what you do? Join the Gaina Trucking team. Apply online at www.gainatrucking.com. That's www.gainatrucking.com.
Baseball's back in Lincoln. Salt Dogs Baseball has returned, and we're celebrating their 20th season all summer long. In honor of the 20th season, the Salt Dogs are offering specials at every homestand May to September. Come on out for Nebraska Medical Association Thank You Tuesdays, Fairbury Brand Wiener Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, and Sunday Family Fun Days brought to you by Casey's. Get your tickets for the Salt Dogs celebration season at saltdogs.com.
Welcome to Friendly Neighbors. Welcome to maintenance-free living. Welcome to Carriage Glen. Welcome home. It's everything you'd want in an active 55-plus rental community right here in Lincoln. Spacious floor plans, numerous amenities, beautiful surroundings near Holmes Lake, and much more. Plus, with Carriage Glen's current move-in special, you can save thousands if you act now. Carriage Glen invites you to take a personal tour or visit them online at carriageglenoflincoln.com. Discover the place you'll love to call home.
Did you know that Myers Cork & Bottle is still open for walk-in business, but is now also offering citywide delivery? Learn more or place your order by calling 476-1518. And be sure to listen to Thirsty Thursday with Myers Cork and Bottle every Thursday at 4:30 on The Drive.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Presented by Bubbles and Blocks. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. One final time here on the Recruiting Hour. Thank you to Steve Warren from Warren Academy joining us, talking a little about his big event he's got going on Wednesday. Just a reminder, Happer and I will be at the Pawnee Plunge on Friday. This will fulfill a dream of ours since the show started in 2019.
Yeah.
We have joked, we have commented many times about how we were going to do a show from the Pawnee Plunge. We are going to make it a reality, and it will not just be from 2 to 3. It'll be from 2 to 6. There's buzz and excitement from various people about this whole thing happening.
There is buzz.
Like I said, Ernest Hausman, Nebraska commit Ernest Hausman will be dropping by in the 2:00 hour. I think I will try to arrange for some other people to join as well.
Columbus legends.
We'll try to get some Columbus legends.
Dignitaries. Do we need Sipple?
Well, I would like for him to ride the hog to Columbus.
Well, he usually takes a Friday afternoon ride.
And he's normally on your show Friday at 5:25.
This could be doable.
It seems like at the very least, Steve Sipple should be doing a interview, hopefully in person. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll
All
see.
right.
But
You got my hopes up now.
He can tell us about how there was no Pawnee Plunge when he was a child growing up, and I'll be like, yeah, there wasn't for me either, because it's been around for like 10 years.
But it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's the best water park in the country. We tell you all the time.
In the world.
Now we're going to go experience it ourselves.
That's
It'll be
right.
great. Will be a good
Will one of us go
time.
down the water slide during the show?
It feels like something Jake could do.
Okay. How early can I get there so I could get a little water park fun in?
Well, so
before?
that's we'll logistically,
Okay.
as the logistics guy, we will funnel all the information together, and you will help assign us an agenda.
We'll
for
talk
that
about
day.
this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that'll be good. And then it's a big location week. I'll be at the Mark on Wednesday as well, so it should be fun. Real quickly, Nebraska roster news. Branson Yeager no longer listed on the online roster. Kind of a weird story there. I don't know. I don't have details on that specifically. Still kind of digging around a little bit, but obviously he is the first member of the 2021 class to leave the program, bringing Nebraska to 19 that they signed of high school kids in the 2021 cycle.
Yeah.
So no more Branson Yeager. He was the offensive lineman out of Utah. That takes him down to Henry Lutovsky and Teddy Prohaska for offensive linemen in that class. And other news and notes to kind of pass along. Jake Makuya, the offensive lineman from Valor Christian, just recently had a unofficial visit with Stanford. Keep an eye on that. He's set to make a decision here at the end of this month. Nebraska very much wants him. I don't know that they are the favorites at this point in time. We'll see how that plays out. Jaden Mangham, the defensive back wide receiver from Michigan, is set to make a decision on August 1. Again, Nebraska in the mix. Nebraska not the favorite. Looks like that's West Virginia, unless he's very concerned about the future of West Virginia because of conference realignment.
Might be in the SEC.
I don't know if he is or not, but I just felt like I had to throw that in.
No, it's the first thing I thought of too.
Was it?
Yes, it was. I was like, oh, I wonder where West Virginia's going to be after all this is said and done.
So that's kind of what happened over the weekend. Pretty quiet weekend. Otherwise, Nebraska didn't have recruits on campus. They're expected to host some recruits this week because football is starting. So they will have their first practice, I believe, Friday.
I think that's right.
And then another practice on Saturday, and recruits will be in attendance for those.
Wow, man.
They can't anymore after that.
I don't want to say it, but we did it.
We made it.
Yeah.
I don't think we should say it based
Okay.
off of experiences of previous years.
You're right.
Let's at least get 2 weeks of practices in, and then we can determine.
Well, but here's what happens. This is the kind of ebb and flow of it, right? We get excited. We have media days, and that's like the kind of unofficial end of the offseason or start of the, preseason, I guess. And then camp starts, and you have this whole build up to camp, and it's exciting at first. And then camp happens for like 6 practices, and we're like, all right, let's
We are
just get
done
on
with
it.
camp.
Camp is over.
Yeah.
The season needs to start, but then there's like 20 more camp practices.
Yeah, a lot of camp.
So, we ride the
You gotta
wave.
pace yourself.
We ride the wave in August.
You got to pace yourself. All right, so I promised that I was going to dive into my Sunday. My brother was unable to make my bachelor party for whatever reason, and he determined that he was going to make up for this and that we would go to a baseball game. His idea, because he is absolutely infatuated with Shohei Ohtani, is that we would drive to Minneapolis, watch the Twins and Angels play, and then drive home all in one day.
Oh, God.
And we did it.
Was that a good idea?
I don't know. I'm still like a lot of time in the car yesterday.
You were
Yeah.
in Minnesota at the baseball game yesterday.
Yeah, I was in Nebraska to start the morning at 4:30. I was in Iowa by about 5:45. I was in Minnesota by about
And they played They played at 1 o'clock.
They played a 1 o'clock game. We watched it. Shohei Ohtani and his third at bat hit an absolute tank.
What?
No one moved. It was Haber. I'm telling you, I have video. I'll show you. I have seen a lot of baseball home runs. We had seats that were 2 rows behind home plate, just off to the left. They were incredible seats.
Whoa.
And watching him hit this hanging slider, one sounded like he just blew the ball.
That's always the thing that strikes me.
112 mile per hour exit velocity.
Oh my God.
400 feet to right field. And no one, like, you
It's
know,
just like we're not even
someone
gonna
hits
try.
the ball and you watch the fielder sort of attempt to move a little bit on some home
Not
runs.
even a flinch.
Max Kepler didn't move. He didn't look backwards. He just stood there.
That's awesome.
Stoically looking towards home plate as Shohei Ohtani hit.
That's
a
so cool.
bomb.
So you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your trip's worth, I guess.
Yeah.
What time did you get back?
We got back. So then my brother is sort of insane. He's like, I haven't been here since I was a kid. Let's go to the Mall of America. I want to see the Lego store.
All right.
So we went to the Lego store.
Yeah.
And then
I thought you were going to say Pizza Ranch
No.
for some reason.
I suggested that on the way back as a joke.
It's an Iowa staple.
Yeah. And then we ate somewhere, and then it was like we didn't get home until 12:30 in the morning. But for a there and back trip, that like Minneapolis is the furthest point that I think I've ever driven,
Yeah.
and then still arrived in the same bed.
Yeah.
On the same 24-hour period.
Right.
I never want to do that again.
Well, you did it once.
Yeah. But it
And
was
good.
it was fun. It was fun.
You got
Shohei
the Lego
Ohtani.
store. You got Shohei Ohtani.
If you can see him play, you got to get it done. All right, we will be back with more Recruiting Hour tomorrow. The Drive is next.